Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Just Seen podcast. And today, as you've seen from the title, we're going to be talking about religion. And as you've seen from the subtitle, is religion the God of the oppressed? The reason why I want to talk about this, and if you can hear from my voice, I am a little bit under the weather. I'm a little bit sick, but one, I got to stick to consistency. And two, this is on my mind now. I coming back, like I took a vacation. I needed one. Whole 9 days, man. Whole 9 days. I was in a whole nother time zone, whole nother climate, and now I'm paying for it. But just in having to come back and shit, I come back to April showers and shit. But that's beside the fact. I'm just giving y'all the forewarning for why my voice sound like this. All right. But it ain't gonna take away from nothing that we got going on. So anywho, back to the main point. So the reason why I'm calling religion the God of the oppressed is because something that I've learned just studying history, studying everything that I study. When I come to grips with reality, I see that most religious people, now this is Muslim, Islam, Muslim, Christian, it don't matter. But people that stick to the surface level of their religion is their God. And it's funny because they try to make it seem as if the God is the God, but it's really not. It's the religion that is their God, and they use their religion as their deity. And I will always wonder, and now this is not just speaking on people, this is speaking on myself, because when I dove into the religion, and started understanding it, studying it, and breaking down, I realized that what I was associating with was the religion under the guise that I was believing in the God. It's not. It's I say it all the time. We don't believe in our deities, nor do we love them. We fear hell. And we fear, and in fearing hell, our religion becomes our God, because our religion shows the quote unquote rules and the things that'll keep us from going to hell, right? This shit is deep, because when we consider any forms of oppression, any forms of slavery, they only work when you can make the people believe that if they don't coincide with what's going on, something bad is going to happen to them. So you ultimately want to give them the worst possible punishment ever, right? So now they run through the gamut of, they'll indoctrinate their children for you. You won't have to do it. They'll make their children follow this religion. They'll make their children follow this deity and use it to benefit them only. And then the children, once they get indoctrinated by the parents, they think this is law. And then now you have 4 or 5. Well, let's see. We was oppressed for about 500 years. A generation is 25. There's about, we got about 400 generations of this shit. Not to mention the generations that have merged into, like the intertwining within generations. You see what I'm saying? We have about 400 generations of this shit. Well, not 400. My bad. Not. Yeah, I'm right. 40. I'm sorry. 40. 400 was a reach. Way reach. We about 40 generations of this shit. 40 generations of believing of making a religion our God, and still saying we're believing in God. And this is why I'm saying this, because I don't care whether it's Christian or Muslim. Whenever I ask them something about anything, they got to quote scripture. If it's not in the scripture, it don't count. So they like, because that's God's word. Is it really? Is it really? Or is that the one piece that you're able to use to justify everything? Because if that's God's word, he ain't never speak before or after that. You feel me? If that's Allah's word, he ain't speak before or after that. You feel me? And that's where we are within how we come to terms now. We don't understand religion. And so because we don't understand religion, we treat religion like our God. We make our religion our God, and we think we're believing in God. We're not. Because if we were believing in God, we wouldn't always have to reference the Bible or the book or the religion itself. And the moment you question the religion, everybody says, oh, you're going against God. See, the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind, they speak a certain way. So when that happens and somebody says, and you tell them you're leaving the religion, they say, oh, so you don't believe in God. They have already told you and shown you that they have equated God, that their religion is their God, without even telling you. But before we dive heavy into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram _just_C__. Be sure to check out my website at iamjustseeing.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, donate, sponsor the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of your podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. And as always, Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And that's that for this, and that's this for that. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into religion, the God of the oppressed.
And don't forget to visit iamjustseeing.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So For Real series to your library? Visit iamjustseeing.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit iamjustseeing.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit iamjustseeing.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit iamjustseeing.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit iamjustseeing.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at iamjustseeing.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit iamjustseeing.com.
Welcome back. And without further ado, we're going to dive straight into this motherfucker and get it twerking. So first thing I want to do, y'all know how I get down. We got to start off with definitions. Religion. The word religion derives from the Latin word religio or religare, right? Those two words mean to bind, to tie back, to hold down, to yoke, get yoked up, hemmed up, whatever. Either way, the word religion means to bind, to tie back, and to hold down. What is our religion designed to tie us to, hold us back from? Freedom. Logically, because we received it under oppressive circumstances. You see what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, first off, when we look at what a deity is the highest conceptualization of the mind, right? So now, when I tell you that a deity is the highest conceptualization of the mind, and I give you the book that chronicles, I'll give you the book that allegedly chronicles the highest conceptualization of this deity's mind. Like, it's crazy how this is supposed to be God's word, but there was a lot of men speaking in this motherfucker. Like, if you actually read it, there's like, I say, of the actual words that are spoken, I say a good 80% of the words are of humans, men. The other 20% are God's words, and then that's flipped between God and Jesus, right? But it's like, of all of the people in the world, there's billions of us here, right? God only talked to 8 people. I'm being dramatic when I say 8, but God only directly talked to 8 people in one book that was 2,000 years ago. I mean, directly how he speaks, like, you feel me? Because when we read the text and shit, this motherfucker like directly saying, "Hey, bro, I need you to go do this. Hey, bro, don't go do that. Hey, you go here, I'm gonna fuck you up. Hey, bro, put blood over this area, so I'm about to send a plague to kill everybody, yo." Like, he was talking directly, and now he don't do that no more. And I've talked to religious people, and they say, "Oh, that's because we lost touch and we lost connection with him," or was he never speaking to us? Because when I talk to people like that who say shit like that, again, it ties to the religion, because they're like, well, he's been the same. Like, he's not changing. So I'm like, well, if you know in the book it says that, if you know that within the book it says that he's the same now, then, and forever, but now he's not doing what he used to do then, what does that tell you? And again, this is where it becomes, are you questioning God or questioning religion? I'm questioning religion that's telling me what God is. We got a problem with that. If the highest conceptualization of my mind does not make sense, what do you think is going to happen with my mind? Like, really think about that. If I'm in conflict with my understanding of the highest conceptualization of my mind, that means I'm going to be in conflict with myself forever. Right? And here's why I'm saying that, because like I said, we make the religion the God and not the God the God. And then we don't even seek to understand the God, because we got to understand that religion. And this ties into the levels of the mind in a way, but y'all always hear me say there's 3 levels to religion: the mythology, the ritual, and the allegory. You feel what I'm saying? Imagine only getting the mythology, not the ritual or the allegory, to understand God. But you get the mythology to keep you and make your religion the God. There's not a person alive right now who like who doesn't base their connection with God on how well they can quote their religious tenets. You can stop me when I'm lying, but you feel what I'm saying? Everybody who's quote unquote devout, who like their devotion has nothing to do with the deity, but everything to do with how well they can quote the religion. It's a wild game, because it's like when you hear it, like everybody keeps quoting, well, Allah says this, or God says that, or this person says that, and they're able to quote the Bible or the Quran. They're able to give you words out of the actual book and say, this is what it is, but they don't have any sense of morality. Because those same people will say he ain't done with me yet when they do some shit that violates their religion. Religion, I feel personally, and I'm going to stand on this forever, is used to justify bullshit. I've never met a person who didn't use the religion to say, and when they couldn't find something to justify their bullshit, they'll say, oh, well, he ain't done with me yet. Oh, he ain't done with you yet, because your religion tells you that as long as you repent before you die, you good. So that's what you mean by he ain't done with me yet, because as long as you're still alive, you still have time to repent, so you can do what the fuck you want to do. People don't take that shit seriously, bro. And it's funny because they be like, yo, Scene, well, I got to hold you accountable. If you say this is your shit, stand on it. I don't give a fuck. If you study my tenets, if you study the shit that and you say, okay, bam, you violating the shit that you talking about, I got to stand on that. I can't look at you and say, oh, well, you don't know it. You don't follow it. So how you going to tell me? I remember I was having a conversation with somebody. We was watching a movie. And in the movie, the guy was like, Jesus, H, Christ. And my sister was like, H. She was like, what the H mean? I said, ah. And because I don't fuck with the religion no more, everybody, I was like, his name isn't Jesus H. Christ. I said the reason why they say Jesus H. Christ is because his name is Yeshua HaMashiach. And they were like, and they looked at me like, I thought you don't fuck with religion. I don't. That's why. Like, it'd be funny as shit, because it'd be like, I know it. And it's not my God. You feel what I'm saying? It's wild because our religion becomes the lexicon. If you go back to the episode I did on lexicons, lexicons are the words that create the world that you live in. Not only in America are we a nation under God, but we're a nation under God that is the Christian God, right? Our entire lexicon is found within the bounds of this book. Muslims too. Their entire lexicon is found within the binds of that book. So when I go back to religion and what it means, religion means to bind you to something. Your religion is designed to bind you to the words of the book. That's why you're not supposed to add anything, and you're not supposed to take anything out. And you're not supposed to study the antithesis of anything to contradict the religion, because you have to be bound within the confines of these words. You feel what I'm saying? Without understanding what these words mean. So now, when we look at how we understand religion today, I ain't even gonna say understand it, because I know motherfuckers don't understand it for real. When we look at how we believe in religion today, it is not how it was originally created. So the religion that you follow, see, we got to think about it. There's over 600 gods. Therefore, there has to be over 600 religious books. But only three, they have the three major religions. They're the only ones who wrote down the tenets. The reason why is because it's the thing called the Council of Nicea. Council of Nicea came together and said, we're going to run the world. We're going to make everybody believe in a religion, basically. Religion we're going to make them believe in is Christianity, right? If they don't want to fuck with Christianity, in short, we're going to make them fuck with Islam or Judaism. Now, you're going to fuck with one of these. And that's what we're going to call them the three major religions, Abrahamic religions, and this is what it's going to be. But we're going to make it seem like these things are real. This is important. If you look at the Council of Nicea, go back and study that shit. The Bible was written by the greatest poets of the time. William Shakespeare was one of those poets that helped put that shit together. I'm going to show you why this is important. Because as a poet, not only a poet, I'm a poet. Like, I can do poetry over beats, which is rapping, bars, but I'm a poet. Here's the potency of poetry. And a lot of people think it's just rhyming. Mm-mm. Poetry is the merging of fantasy and reality without a point of distinction between the two. Poetry done correctly brings you to a reality where you can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. There's not a motherfucker alive who follows a religion that cannot decipher between fantasy and reality. This is why it's so easy for children to believe in the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and Jesus and Muhammad all together. Beings and entities that they've never seen before, but they keep being told that these beings are real. We come to terms with the reality and tell our children, hey, Santa Claus isn't real, despite the fact that they physically see a real Santa Claus every year when we go to the mall. You feel me? We keep telling them that the Easter Bunny is not real, despite the fact that every Easter they're going to see somebody dressed up as a bunny. They've never seen Jesus, bro. They've never seen Muhammad, bro. But we can tell them that what they really see is not real, or tell them how it's imaginary, but we can't tell them that what they cannot see is real. Like how are we succumbing to this? Again, it's the lexicon. And the reason why I'm using Christianity is so potent and so deadly because of the Council of Nicea made sure to include there's no name greater than Jesus. That's crazy to believe that, especially when that's not that motherfucker's name. But to know that there's no name greater than Jesus and it keeps you in the lexicon, no matter what happens, if anything supersedes what quote unquote Jesus did in the Bible, like we base every miracle in life only off what we saw Jesus do in the Bible. Fuck the miracles we see in real life. You know what I'm saying? We don't think those are miracles. We don't think we're the creator of those miracles. We think Jesus is the only being that can make miracles happen. Not realizing that, and I think I should do an episode on this, not realizing that Christ isn't his last name. Christ is his title. His name isn't Jesus Christ. It's Jesus the Christ. Yeshua HaMashiach. If you read Sophra 3, you know what I'm talking about with Mashiach energy. But the Yeshua HaMashiach, right? Jesus the Messiah. The Messiah means the anointed one. The anointed one means self-ascension. When I tell motherfuckers who read this religion and shit, and this is how I know who knows it and know who don't, because I fucks with it, low key, in some of the shit, but I fucks with it in the sense that I had to learn it and I know it. I know it. I know it. I ain't even gonna say I know it. I understand it. That's why I don't need it, right? So when I'm telling people about what's in it, they be like, no. I'm like, so if I was still claiming the religion, would you believe me then? Like if I was claiming the religion, you would believe me. But because I'm not claiming the religion, you don't believe me. So what does that tell you? It goes back to the levels of the mind. Like I said, the first level is belief, and belief is going to be catered to either fear or faith. This is why they give you the mythology to make a choice of whether you believe that this is real or not. But you can't tell because they got the greatest poets to merge fantasy and reality in this book. So you can't tell the difference between the two. You see what I'm saying? Like the story of Jesus as a whole is a merger of fantasy and reality. Mary, who was married to Joseph, got pregnant by a ghost. Immaculate conception, which has never happened again. Two things in the Bible that are very, very important that set the tone for reality, but never duplicated again, was the birth of Jesus and Eve coming from Adam's rib. No woman has ever conceived a child immaculately again. You feel me? And no woman has ever been born of the rib of a man. You see what I mean? But people can't tell the difference between the fantasy and the reality of it. Because that's what mythology is. Mythology is the merger of fantasy and reality. This is why if you look at the poets, also in addition to the poets of the time, Shakespeare's and them, you have to look at the epic writers. Homer, and the Gilead and the Iliad and all of those shits. The epic, those Greek epics, those were also fantasy. But because it was historical fiction because they used real events. You see what I'm saying? They used real events. So when they connected those, the mythology of it, you feel me, to religion, you have to realize that all mythological shit, and I'm like, you mean to tell me Religions are the only mythological things. Only mythological things that are real. You feel what I'm saying? And the mythology, like I said, it has an element of both fantasy and reality. Think about Pegasus. A flying horse. You'll never see a flying horse, but it'd be dope to see. But a horse with wings. You feel me? Unicorns. They're mythology, a merger of fantasy and reality. See, a lot of people think when you think fantasy, you think cartoons, wild shit. Fantasy doesn't have to be, fantasy can be two realities that should not go together, that merge together. Again, hence with the Pegasus. You see what I'm saying? So now when we look at our religion and shit, we don't even know who God really is, but we know that we got to follow this religion. We'll say God's going to strike you down. We call God Zeus and don't even get it. We call God Zeus. But then we'll tell you that Greek mythology isn't real. So God's going to strike you down. Who sends thunderbolts? What's the only? It's either Zeus or Thor. It's either Zeus or Thor who sends thunderbolts down. You feel me? But then when you think about who also fucks humans, you got to go with Zeus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yo, Zeus done got more demigods running around this motherfucker than anybody. Zeus got Perseus. He got Zeus got Perseus. He got Hercules. Motherfucker. Zeus got some babies out here, bro. Excuse me. But yeah, Zeus got some babies out here. But you have to ask yourself. My bad. But you got to ask yourself, who's really the point? So this is what I'm saying. When you look at how they define God in the religious text, God is all of the gods. They took certain attributes of the most important gods at the time, and they said, we're going to make the one God. You feel me? And we're not going to describe them for real, for real. We're going to make it so vague that motherfuckers are just going to create a reality within their minds that, okay, I can't see his face. You mean to tell me you creating the image and likeness of a deity and you can't see his face? It's your face. If you are creating the image and likeness of a deity, its face is your face. How the fuck can't you see its face? Because again, you don't have belief in, nor do you love or care for the God. Your God is the religion. When you come to terms with your God being the religion, you realize why your life is so fucked up. And it's not in the sense that following the religion is what makes your life fucked up. It's in the sense that the lexicon that you're in means that when you're in circumstances that this lexicon doesn't participate in, you're going to sabotage shit and you're going to fuck it up. You feel me? This is one of the reasons why people who... It's crazy how well-versed motherfuckers are about the Illuminati and demonic shit that they ain't even supposed to be learning. How you know more about the Illuminati and devil worship and all of the shit than you do about Christianity and you a Christian? Unless that demonic shit is another half of Christianity, but that's a conversation I ain't gonna talk about today. But how can you really say that about yourself? You feel me? And no, this is not me being, a dickhead and like saying shit like, oh, y'all got to give up religion. I don't want you to give up religion. I never say it. I say understand your religion and push yourself to the allegorical level so you can know, wow, this is what they did to me. Yeah. So when we became oppressed under the religion, not the God, the religion. You feel me? How a motherfucker, like, this is what I'm saying, like, the God of your enemy is your devil, right? If we know that we received the religion in an atrocious situation, like, this has to be devil worship. You serving the God of the motherfucker that's oppressing you, that beat you, that sabotaged you, mutilated you, told you your people wasn't shit, and they told you God was good. Their God was good because their God is the highest conceptualization of mine. So now when people say, my God is this, your God is the highest conceptualization of your mind. The greatest thing you can potentially think of represents God. The greatest level of intellect, thought, feeling, everything. That is what God is supposed to be for you. But your God is in the... Like, come on, man. Think about this shit, right? Highest conceptualization of a mind is a God. Your God is supposed to be everything, right? How can you serve a jealous, wrathful, and vengeful God if you yourself, creating His image and likeness, don't have jealousy, wrath, or vengeance in your heart? But this deity can. This deity does not have to practice restraint. If it's horny and it wants to make a baby, it will. But it'll tell you you can't. Now, we have a commandment. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Mary was married to Joseph, and God fucked her, and got her pregnant. Because God can do that. God can do that because your religion allows it to, because there's always something that you can use to justify that. You feel me? But that violates God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Like, you fuck that man's wife, dog. Fuck the story that came after. You feel me? Oh, it was because Jesus died for our sins and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 and we're going to do this and shit. And it's like, he fucked another man's wife. We're going to let that slide? We're going to really let that slide? Yes, we're going to let that slide. You know why? Because our religion tells us we have to. Because God can do that. God himself is the only one that can do that. You dig what I'm saying? So this is why it's easy to accept religion through oppression. Because God does fucked up shit. And now when I can convince you that your people are supposed to be enslaved, oh, it's just a matter of time. They gave us that shit and they was able to enslave. They was able to enslave us 400 years because of the religion. Like, a lot of people be thinking like it just like happened and shit. Like, nah, it was a way that like they had to break us down by making us feel for the religion and see what it is. So when it actually happened, it justified. You know, this is y'all are the chosen people. Y'all are the people that are supposed to be enslaved for 400 years. The 400 years starts every generation. Every new birth. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm 33. Well, I'll be 33 next week. So at the time of this recording, I'm a week away from being 33, right? So I'm 33. But in the time of my life, like, I've listened to things transpire that I don't think should have transpired. That people just kept saying and saying and saying about the religion and all of this other shit. Like, you feel me? We're in the last days of the last days for one. But one thing that I kept hearing is we've been in, bondage for 400 years. Like, nobody changes the number. I get it because it's, I'm like, we're not 433 no more. I've been hearing 400 since I was a baby. You feel me? And I still hear 400 years. It ain't 500. It ain't like, but that's the point that I'm making, because now when you read the religion, it says, yo, y'all gonna be enslaved for 400 years. And then you look at the story, like, by now it should be over, right? Apparently, it's the shit should have stopped. It was like, oh, after 400 years, the curse should be lifted. Everything should go back to normal. But nothing has happened. We're 500 years in now. Because if we're going to start it from when it started, 1492, that's when Christopher Columbus, started doing his thing. 1492. 1992 was 500 years. How the fuck are we in captivity for 400? We're in 2023 and 1992 was 500 years. But it's still motherfuckers saying we've been oppressed for 400. See how it works? So now when you read the religion and you got the Hebrew Israelites saying, yeah, the curse was talking about us. Is it over yet? It's 400 years. It's actually, we're in the 500th year. It's not over yet. Matter of fact, we're 531 years in of a 400-year curse. Somebody lying. Either there was never a curse, or the curse is the mind not understanding the information being presented. Something that I was studying when I started studying spirituality for real, I started studying karma. And one of the people that broke down karma for me was like, he said something very powerful. He said, karma stops when you want it to stop. I said, no, the fuck it don't. Nigga, yes, it do. When you have learned the lesson, that's it. That's what karma is. Karma is a point of understanding. People be thinking, yo, like, people be thinking karma is tit for tat. No, karma is understanding for understanding. The pain you inflicted, you're gonna have to understand why you inflicted it. The shit you did to a motherfucker, you're gonna have to understand why you inflicted on that motherfucker, because that motherfucker had to understand why you did it to him. That's what karma is. Understanding for understanding. And that's why people be thinking karma is always some bad shit. No, karma is an exchange of energy, of understanding between two mutual parties. This could be a human and an animal. This could be an animal and an animal. This could be it could be anything. But all of these things are largely tied to our connection within ourselves, within other people, and then within the religions that we have and the religions that we choose to use and choose not to understand. So when our karma can be stopped, that means curses are up to us to continue a break. The thing about the curse that is imposed upon us, the reason why it's hard to break is because it is tied to the highest, it is tied to a deity. That was one of the smartest things they've ever done when it came to oppression. They tied oppression, every form of oppression is tied to a god. That's smart as fuck. I'm not knocking that. When it comes to war, that's smart as fuck. You tie your oppression to their god. No, you tie their oppression to their god or to the god that you want them to serve. Niggas will think 400 years is gonna run forever. Like I said, we're in year 531 right now since 1492 when Christopher Columbus sailed the blue. We're in year 530 fucking one. No sky crack. Nobody came to save us. Nobody done anything. But these are the things that we're still banking on. So the insanity allows it to keep going and keep going. So we're passing this on. This is why now we've been in the last days of the last days for 531 years. That's scary. Because everybody keeps quoting the religion is like, yeah, because when God come back, this is what's going to happen. It's not the God that you serve. It's your religion. How you know he ain't already came back and you missed it? You feel me? You won't. Because you don't even know what you're looking for. If the sky cracked right now, you wouldn't know what God looked like. He has hair, wool, and skin of burned bronze. It's Jesus. They didn't give you the description of God because they couldn't give you the description of God. You feel me? And then the fact that that was some gangster shit, bro. The Council of Nicea was smart as fuck for that, for making Jesus black. Making a conceptualization of the hair of wool, skin of burnt bronze, that was smart as fuck. Can't even hold you. You know how many people you could oppress like that? All of the ones with hair of wool and skin of burnt bronze. And now you can do it even better because now you can divide them up by landmass. You can divide them up by landmass and make them think they're different. And you can get them so fine-tuned that you can separate them according to street corners. And they still believe in the same religion. Separate them down to street corners. That's crazy. You feel me? And there's a church on every street corner too. But then when you look at, the churches and shit, they're like, yo, how can you have, like, I know people, religious people, because it's about ego. Following a religion is about ego for yourself and to show that I know it. So I'm closer to God than you. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because if you were, then you will understand, like the Bible says the church is within. So why do you have to go to a building every Sunday? Every Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. No, what is it? Because you got Tuesday's Bible study usually. Thursday's choir rehearsal. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. You feel me? Give or take. Sometimes it's Wednesday. But for the most part, that's the repetitive cycle. You know what I'm saying? Your religion really do that to you. You feel me? And like I said, they put a church on every street corner, but yet they tell you that the church is within. But motherfucker, I just got to go to church so I can get my feel. If you can't go within to get your feel, then what you believe in, it ain't for you. You feel me? The Bible itself says the church is within, but it doesn't show you how to go within to find a church. So yeah, you go to church and you put your 10%. Like, so listen to this metaphor right quick. If the Bible says that the church is within, who the fuck are you giving your 10% to? Sit with that shit, bro. Sis, all y'all. I ain't said that shit in a minute. But yeah. Who should you be giving your 10% to? Because this is what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to the church, they say you got to give 10% to church. Your 10% that you're supposed to give to God, you give to church, but the church is within. So The 10% I give to myself. Oh, this low key sound like entrepreneurship. Pay yourself first, but we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna stick to the religious side of it. But you feel me? If the church is within and I'm supposed to give my 10% to the church, that means in a reality, I give 90% to the world and I keep 10% for myself. 10% of my gift or whatever I have is mine. 90% goes to the world. Because if I am given to God and the church is within, when I put in the church, I'm putting into myself. And there's somebody right now who's listening to that and is like, yo, I never thought about that before. You're not supposed to think about it like that. Because religion means to bind, and the religion that you follow is what you're binded to. You're supposed to stay in this lexicon. So you're not going to be taught anything that'll take you out of it. If I tell you that the church, you're supposed to give 10% to the church and the church is within, you would not come back to church. Why would I teach you that? When I stopped going to church, I stopped giving to church, and a lot of people, started giving to myself and giving more to the world. My life accelerated. People were like, now I have, religious cohorts and, they're like, yo, it's just a matter of time. You'll be back. I don't have to come back. Like, y'all, it sucks that if y'all are as good people as y'all say, why would y'all wish bad on somebody? Like, even then, like, no matter what, if y'all are supposed to love your neighbors and shit like a motherfucker, like, you should never wish bad on anybody. But you do. And you do it in Jesus' name sometimes. Matter of fact, now, what she did, I'm not mad at it. Because this is a double-sided sword for me. Because the Derek Jackson wife, after she got cheated on or whatever the case may be, she's trying, this religion is allowing her, is forcing her to put a shell up. She's broken down on the inside. She's trying to act like she's strong because she's a prayer warrior. She's losing her shit. But when she got on social media and started cursing people in Jesus' name, they was like, she can't do that. Yes, she can. Yes, she can. And she did. In Jesus' name. She said she prayed that y'all are barren. Y'all can't have no kids. None of that shit. Now, like, the reason why I said it was a double-edged sword, because it's like, y'all are fucking with her. Leave her the fuck alone. You feel me? Y'all are laughing at her. Like, I get her man did that. Y'all are adding fuel to the fire, though. Saying she deserved to be cheated on because of what she had on and shit like that. No, this is what a religious person does. Once they tie back to the religion, they shut the world down. They don't know how to deal with the world. They think they're better than the world. And the world fucks them up for it. You see what I mean? Because it doesn't teach them reality. It doesn't teach them reality. This is what I'm saying. Most religious people can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. You feel me? And it's largely contradictory. I feel like I said, you can use your religion to justify your bullshit, but when what's in there is in there, can be violated and no consequences. You feel me? Tyler Perry damn near a billionaire, and he did it by wearing dresses, and the Bible exclusively says, do not wear the garments of a woman. But he got rich off it. So I'm confused. You feel me? But then this goes back to, is he the same now, then, and forever? Did he lose power? Or did he just don't give a fuck no more? Or because it's been 400 years and the curse is over, he done took his hand away from everybody and said, y'all, the curse over. Y'all can do what y'all want to do. It ain't my fault y'all been here still for another 131 years. If the curse was only 400 and we 131 years after the curse. That's wild, y'all. We 131 years post the biblical curse. And ain't nobody got an inkling to say this over with. Nah, because we still waiting on the sky to crack. You feel me? Still waiting on the sky to crack. And the delusion of it all, it makes us not even realize what it is that we're quoting or saying. You feel me? The sky cracks at the end of Revelation. Enslavement happened in Exodus. What part of the book are we really in, y'all? Come on. This is what I'm telling y'all. Y'all need to understand the mythology, the ritual, and the allegory. And this is why there's no timestamps in there. Because the mythology is the reason why you can't tell where you are. Are we in the last days of the last days? Or are we still in the curse? Are we in Revelation or are we in Exodus? Nigga, where are we? It's the fucking roadmap. And I'm only laughing because I used to be in that space. Like, And this is what I'm saying. When you tied to the religion, you don't know where you're supposed to be at in religion. You just find what fits you. And then you justify all that other bullshit. When I gave a religion, motherfuckers was like, yo, I said, yo, because I said, look, when I decided I wasn't gonna be misogynist, when I said I wasn't gonna be patriarchal, when I said I wasn't gonna align with certain shit no more, certain shit had to fall. You can't be a non-patriarchal Christian. You damn sure can't be a non-patriarchal Muslim, my nigga. Come on. You feel what I'm saying? You still not gonna like women. You still like there's still certain shit that's tied to your religion. And your religion is tied to you, and you're tied to something. But what are you tied to, and do you understand what you're tied to? You're bound to this shit for life. Just imagine you're bound to the merger of fantasy and reality. This is why I'm saying that, because when they wrote it back in the Council of Nicea, when they put the shit together, I know a lot of people keep saying, no, they didn't write that book. The book was written by Moses and this and Moses. They say Moses wrote the Torah, right? So ask motherfuckers what the Torah is. What's the first 5 books of the Bible? When was Moses born? In Exodus. All right, so I'm gonna move on to the next point. You feel me? They be like, what you mean? Bruh, if you didn't catch it, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. How do you, if he wasn't like the first 5 books are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. I can go down again. Joshua, Judges, Ruth first, but Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. First 5. Right. He was born in Exodus because his mama. He wrote the whole shit in third person, but he was born in Exodus because his mama left him by the Nile River. You feel me? And then Pharaoh, like, that was some fucked up shit. Pharaoh's wife came and saved his ass, bro. His mama left him by the Nile River. He could have been eaten by alligators or whatever. Pharaoh's wife saved him and raised him as her own son, and he turned his back on Pharaoh to go back to be with the motherfuckers who probably told his mama to leave him by the river. That's wild, ain't it? That's wild, ain't it? So now when people be like, why do you bite the hand that feeds you? Because you're religious. You were taught to. The greatest people in your book do that. The greatest people in your book do that. Bite the fuck out of the hands that feed them. And then do it in God's name. Like, of all of the Hebrews that were enslaved, God only spoke to Moses. God only spoke to Moses. And I get it. Like, it's like, well, you know, because he was one of the chosen people. He was. Like, why would you choose one of the people who, like, it was different. I'll break that down another day. But these are the things, the fantasy and the reality. So these events are what fucks you up. So they automatically put, when they gave you the religion, they made you automatically beef with Pharaoh. So why is this important? Because now when black people have to go back and study their history, they have to go back past slavery and they end up in Egypt. That's why you always hear me say you go back to Egypt up from Kemet. If I tell you that Egypt is the motherfucker, you're not gonna want to study them. You're not even gonna think they're you. You think you're something different, something totally different. Because if you go back to Egypt and then you realize, oh wow, oh, that's different. Okay, but they use certain shit. Like I said, they merge the fantasy and reality to make it look real. So here's the reality. The reality is that this was a time when there was a pharaoh. There was a time, like, there was a pharaoh who ruled, or whatever the case may be. The Hebrews were enslaved under them, or whatever, right? In that, the pyramids were supposed to be built. So we know that this is reality right here. We know that there are pyramids in Egypt. We've seen them, right? We know that there was a pharaoh in charge when the pyramids got built, right? We can speculate that the Hebrews were enslaved, right? But I'm going to say we know solely because we're tying it to the Bible. The other two is historical fact. We can literally see that shit. You feel me? But we got to assume the shit that's actually in the Bible, right? But for the most part, what we know and what we can't see, we know that pyramids are real. We know that pharaohs are real. That's where it becomes real, the reality side. But here's where they merge the fantasy. They never told you what the pharaoh's name was. That's important. The reason why you do not know who the pharaoh is in the Bible is because if you knew the pharaoh's name, all religions fall. The moment you know the Pharaoh's name, who was in charge when the Hebrews were enslaved, everything falls. You know why? Because Hebrews did not build the pyramids. Kemites built the pyramids, their own architecture. They didn't use enslaved people to do their work. They did their own work because they didn't need other people, because they knew their architecture. They knew the science behind what they were doing, so they did it themselves. You dig what I'm saying? They would not need outside sources to do that, and they would not bring them in. You feel what I'm saying? But then when you know what the Pharaoh's name is, you know that it changes the reality of the Bible. You feel me? Because if you actually look at the pyramids, right? Because that's who supposedly built the pyramids, the Hebrews. The time frame in which they were supposed to be enslaved, it only took 85 years to build the pyramids. Let's keep that in motion. It only took 85 years to build the pyramids, right? But they were enslaved for 400 years building the pyramids. Huh, huh. So even if we're saying, okay, 85 years to build a pyramid, right? And so let's say we built all three at the same time, 85 years. But if we built them separately, 3 years, that's what 80 is 240 plus another 15, that's 255. So 255 years that they build them consecutively, still not 400. So I get it. Well, duh, seeing because it's within the 400 years of being enslaved, they built the pyramids. Okay. I'm gonna give you that. They still got the 400 years. They still been rocking. They can have that. That ain't even what I'm mad at. But the point is, now when you put that in time, the pyramids have an actual date recorded of which they were built. They were built between around 2650 BC. 2650 BC. You know when the Hebrews were enslaved? Accordingly, there's no dates in these books, but they said if they had to, scale it to give numbers, it would be between 1850 BC and 1450 BC. This is why they don't give you the Pharaoh's name, because if you know the Pharaoh's name and you know that they were enslaved between 1850 and 1450 BC, right? And you know the pyramids weren't built until 2650 BC. And you know that the Pharaoh at 2650 BC was not the Pharaoh between 1850 and 1450 BC. Shit changes. You start to realize this shit ain't real. And you start to realize it for what it is. It's a mythological doctrine that has been perpetuated as real to make those who believe in it refrain from understanding it.
All you keep hearing is get into the markets, but do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest, and if you should do stocks, forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Mastering the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it?
And give them an even dose of fantasy and reality to where it blends and they can't tell the difference between two. It's easy to discuss fantasy and reality when you're discussing deities because it's all supernatural. You feel what I'm saying? This is why you ever talk to religious people, and this is something I used to say myself. You feel me? When I didn't know, and I can admit this because I guess it's hindsight, but in the moment I probably wouldn't have admitted this. And I know religious people who won't admit this. But in the moment, you feel me? When I didn't know something, or I couldn't validate how it was real, I would say, okay, that's the spiritual realm. Those are things we can't see, y'all, because that's in the spiritual side. Right? When it was clearly written physically. But then when shit on spiritual, that's because that's the physical. See, you don't know nothing about that. See, that's why you got to study and know the word for yourself. I was that. Then I started studying and knowing the word for myself. And I was like, y'all, this ain't, something ain't right. Because when you start breaking it down and learning it better and coming to terms with how well it's written, it becomes amazing. Like motherfuckers don't even really understand half of the words that they reading in there and the content and the grammar in which those words are put together. Oh, I read it in DOS and thous and this and that. It's like, nah, bro. Y'all don't know this shit. And that's why it's like, yo, they keep saying, well, every time I read it, I get something new out of it. That's a problem. That means you're not paying attention the first time you're reading. So whatever it is that's happening when you're reading it, you're just reading it you're not reading it to understand it. You're reading it to make sure that, oh, I remember this verse. Somebody said that to me. You want to be able to match verse for verse with people. That's it. You don't know how many times I can say some shit. And then like after this episode, I put money on it. If anybody hears this episode who's heavily religious, who never heard me before, like they gonna kill my DMs about how I don't know what I'm talking about a whole bunch of other shit. And they're never gonna ask the question of how deep did you go? That's the arrogance of believing in a religion. No motherfucking body ever asks you how deep did you go. They always say you just don't understand it. You do? I found out how many people don't understand it because when I understood it, and I started talking to people about it who said they understood it, it was like, I never seen that part. I don't. So what the fuck have you been quoting? Like, why have you been so adamant about this being real? Because it's what somebody believes. Belief is powerful. And the thing about belief is like, it's just trust. You trust the source that gave it to you. Ain't no facts, ain't no validity, ain't no truth in shit that you believe in. It's trust. I know we said truth. Truth and trust are not the same shit. Truth is an extension of honesty. Trust is an extension of integrity. You feel me? If you continually to show your integrity to me, I can trust you. You feel me? But motherfuckers don't even got to show our integrity. They got to have a title. Just because a motherfucker's a pastor. Like, you know how many pastors I body? Body. When I say body, I make these motherfuckers look like my children. And it looks so fucked up because they're like, you're being disrespectful to them. No, I'm not. It's an equal talking to an equal. And you guys don't think that I'm supposed to be his equal. That's why it looks disrespectful. That's why it looks disrespectful, because I am on a whole nother spectrum to this where I am actually showing him that whatever. Now this is the thing, because when I start match, like, because people, they invite me to their shit, like not to their events or whatever, but they be like, yo, I want you to talk to my pastor. You sure? You sure? I know you caught me in a pocket of time when I talked about something that you never heard before that happened to be about the religion. It was just a small piece, but please don't get your pastor embarrassed like that. Because now when he want to talk, it's, oh, now all he can do is smile at me and give me that look like I just have to respond because I don't know what you're talking about. And then when you respond, it's like, another thing that religious people do is once their information has been reached, once the limitation has been reached, they start throwing out random shit to deflect you. I'm like, that's not what we're talking about, right? But okay, I'm going to answer that and get back on point, because they can't answer the question. So they have to move to another part of the religion. Move to another part of the lexicon, move to another part that they're tied to. And when all else fails, what do they tell you? Well, you got to pray for your own understanding. I got it. How do you know that I did not pray and give, and this is the understanding that I was given? Because you arrogantly believe that because the way in which you understand a religion is how it's supposed to be understood. And all you know about it is the mythology. And the only rituals that we know about it is communion and Passover, for the most part. Those are the biggest rituals, right? And look at, like, we do Passover, well, Easter too, but Easter's not even supposed to be celebrated. That's weird. People don't even know why they're celebrating Easter. And it's about to come up, but no, it just passed. It's coming up as I'm recording it, but it'll be just passed by the time I hear it. But motherfuckers go celebrate Easter not knowing that that's blasphemy. Well, Easter represents the birth of Jesus. No, the fuck it don't. No, it don't. Easter Sunday. This is a little tip. I probably said this before, but this time it's permanent. It can stay, because most of the time it's usually a post. But Easter falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Easter will always fall on the first Sunday after the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Remember that. So this year is going to be on April 9th. This year was on April 9th. Last year was in March, I think. I think one year I had April on my birthday. I'm like, yo. April. I had Easter on my birthday. I was like, and I would ask, why does Easter change? Well, Easter don't change. It does change. You feel me? But as a kid growing up doing the Easter egg hunt and shit, you don't realize that this is a different day than it was last year. But it's not a different day than it was last year. Why? Because it is a symbolism. It's called Easter because it comes from Ishtar. So this is what I'm telling y'all. Y'all don't really fuck with y'all religion because y'all wouldn't celebrate Easter. You couldn't. You wouldn't celebrate Easter. You wouldn't celebrate Christmas because none of these are about your religion. But you use your religion to justify your bullshit. He is risen. Okay. What does he do when he rise? You feel me? But they use that as a scapegoat, like I said, to justify their bullshit. Easter is one of the bullshits that they justify. You feel me? Well, we celebrate Easter because it's the birth of Jesus. No, you celebrate Easter because it's fertility. How in the fuck do you celebrate the birth of Jesus and then go have an Easter egg hunt? That means you're more so celebrating Ishtar than you are Jesus. When you got baskets, when you got rabbits, and you got eggs, that's all Ishtar. That ain't Jesus. Jesus ain't got shit to do with baskets, rabbits, and eggs. Because it's all about fertility. Fertility marks the start of spring. You see what I mean? Fertility marks the start of spring. So Jesus ain't got shit to do with fertility, bruh. Sis, all y'all. But your religion got you merging. This is how blasphemous your religion is, and you don't even know it. You actually participating in shit that you should be avoiding. Easter Sunday, you go to church on Easter Sunday, you get dressed up. This is your best outfit the whole year. Easter Sunday, we get our best outfit the whole year. You feel me? Everybody stunting, shining, everything like that. And you are celebrating a holiday that you should not be celebrating. So is your religion real or not? No, it's used to justify your bullshit. And it's bullshit that ain't got to be justified. All you got to do is understand what you're studying and what you practicing. So again, the ritual of Easter, which segues into fertility, which now says, okay, this is harvest. Now we plant. Tomorrow is when harvesting is when the planting process is supposed to start. Because it is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. It's like, okay, now you're clear to start going forward. Because winter is officially over. The cycle of the death cycle is over, and now the infertility cycle is over. Now the fertility cycle is bringing. The season of death is over. Now the season of life is beginning. So, what are you gonna like? This separation shows that it's like y'all were more worried about a rock being moved. Y'all try to make it about a rock being moved on paper, but then you're gonna go have an Easter egg hunt. You're gonna wear Easter colors. Like you're gonna celebrate Easter. You're gonna worship Ishtar far more than you worship Jesus, and you don't even get it. I know I talk shit because I'm like this, yo. Y'all ain't gonna keep playing me, yo. And I ain't gonna say y'all, but I mean in general, motherfuckers keep playing with me like, oh, you think you know, you think you this, and it's not about what I know or anything like that, but just don't disrespect what I do, what I understand, because you don't understand it, and you scared to understand it. You feel me? I've never been scared of this shit. And now that I'm really not scared of this shit, it's just easier to get. So now, when I look at what people do religiously, it's like, what are you bound to? It's like, when people say you do something religiously, it means you do something as if you're tied to it. You do something as if you're bound to it. You do something as if this controls you. It's deeper than do something like religiously means like, oh, I'm doing this because it controls me. How many decisions have people made in their life based off of their religion? All of them. You know how many people I hear say, if God ain't in it, neither am I. I'm like, that sounds cool, but you also told me that God is everywhere. Excuse me. But you just told me that God is everywhere. If in fact God is everywhere, but yet if God ain't there, you can't go. How do you know where you can go? Because now we have to ask ourselves, what is God? It's the highest conceptualization of the mind, but the quintessential piece of consciousness. You feel me? So when we're out here trying to believe in deities, we're believing in deities that were given to us by motherfuckers who hate us. Low key, black people be wondering why it's. I mean, we be wondering why we have self hatred, and I'm telling you, we're always gonna hate ourselves as long as we have a religion. All religions are anti-black, even if they don't actually actively exclusively say we're anti-black. They're anti-black. They don't work again. Like you feel me? They're anti-black. They don't like anything that's black is wrong in those books. They make it clear. They tell you got to be washed white as snow. They make white purity. They make white so many things. They put black in as evil and darkness. They wrote it like that for a reason. Make you not even want to be black. Motherfuckers really believe that when they die. Like I knew this shit was bullshit when a white dude told me. White dude that follow the same religion that I follow was like, yeah, when black people die, they have to turn white first before they can go to heaven. Nigga, no, the fuck we don't. Because at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself then, if that's the case, then whoever gave us that shit gave us the premonition that this is a physical reality. Because if our meat suits die off, you feel me? That's not going to heaven. So will we really be black or white when we're there? So for that conceptualization to happen, that means we had to be dealing with motherfuckers who had not even ascended to a higher level of thought when they created that information and gave it to us. I get mad when people try to say black people wrote the shit. Even if they did, they won't know smart black people. And if they were smart black people, they were so smart that they wrote this and said, yo, this is an allegory, y'all. Just don't take this for real. And motherfuckers and motherfuckers took it for real. You know how many people, it blows my mind how many people when they say the Holy Quran or the Holy Bible. I'm like, you mean, so if we look at the Holy Bible, go back to the origins of the words, it derives from Helio Biblios, which means sun book or book of the sun. Holy Quran then would be the chronology of the sun. Hence why Islam and Christianity are cousins. Christianity is just the older cousin because it came first, because it's the derivative of Isaac, while Islam is the derivative of Ishmael. Ishmael's a little brother. So then, you know what I'm saying? Islam becomes a little cousin. It's this, that. And they're opposite sides of the same, not opposite sides of the same coin, but they're missing pieces of one another. The shit the Bible doesn't have, the Quran has. The shit the Quran doesn't have, the Bible has. Same shit. Same shit. But all of it was allegorical in reference to how the sun is supposed to affect us and how we're supposed to, use the sun. All of this shit is about the sun and the moon. You feel me? So, for example, if we're looking at Easter, right? And people celebrating this, this was supposed to happen. The reason why you did all of that extra shit was to honor the ritual and say, oh, it's time to harvest again, right? How come the actual ritual itself isn't in the Bible? Because if I'm supposed to learn how to harvest, when Adam was given his punishment, he was supposed to till the land. How come there's no blueprint on how you're supposed to till the land? You feel me? I have people who tell me the Bible is the only book you need. I'm sorry. I've read a lot of books in this world. I've read a lot of books in my lifetime, y'all. And 99.9% of the information I got came out of the Bible. I mean, it didn't come out of the Bible. I'm sorry. I said it wrong. 99.9% of the information, like literally only 0.1% of the information that I give y'all came from the Bible. Right? So when you go from the Bible gives you everything you need to actually reading it and realizing that it's been depleting you and you have received nothing that you need out of as a human, what does that mean for you? Some people, the Bible is the only book they read, and the only book they will read. It's crazy, yo. It's crazy. But everything within it shows you how to create a world that teaches you how to be bound to something. So we're all bound in a world where we're trying to live how they lived 2,000 years ago today. That's what makes it scary, because that becomes our God. Like I said, the God is not the God. It's the religion. When you tell a motherfucker to give up their religion, you can say it on some plain shit. They be like, nope, because that's sinning against God. Like, no, it's not. God is not in a religion. God, apparently, like accordingly, if we actually think like God is before the religion and after the religion, like the book was written one time and published in the 1550s, so it got a publisher and shit. But which is wild because it was published in the 1550s, but it was like supposedly written 2,000 years ago. All right, but incidentally, when the Bible was actually officially published for the first time, the letter J was also invented that same year. But I don't want to fuck with y'all too much. You feel me? I don't want to fuck with y'all too much on that. Because this is shit your religion ain't gonna teach you. You know why? Because it unbinds you from the religion. My little cousins be asking me why I ain't gotta go to church. I said, I don't need church. Y'all do. Y'all need church because y'all don't understand what y'all's trying to study. I understand it well. I understand it well. So much so that I had people will say, well, the Bible say, lean not on your understand. You see how your Bible wants you to be stupid? Why would you tie yourself to something that wants you to remain ignorant? Your deity created it. You're creating the image and likeness of a deity that is omnipotent. Your deity is omnipotent, and you're not even potent. You don't even want to be potent, but your deity tames you, makes you stupid. We think being smart is actually that goes against our deity low key, and our deity tells us that. When the book starts, he told Adam and Eve not to eat of the tree of knowledge. They rewrote the shit and changed it to the tree of good and evil. Whatever, it was a tree of knowledge. I do not just imagine this. I created you in my image and likeness, but I do not want you to eat of the tree of knowledge. Food for thought, but I don't want you to eat of the tree of knowledge. Remain ignorant or continually believe. So when the devil came in, or the serpent, it wasn't the devil, it was the serpent, but that's what they called him, the tempter. So when the devil came in and was like, yo, he doesn't want you to eat this because you will be like him. If this God was really as potent as he said, why would he be mad that his creations could reach the level that he was? Unless there's something that we're missing out of that. And we are, because it is an allegorical piece to it. You feel me? Sin is the absolution of ignorance. If you really put it on paper, the first sin was Eve eating of the tree of knowledge. She was punished for removing her ignorance. So being born into sin means to be born out of ignorance. Born devoid of ignorance. When we come into this world, there's no ignorance. The people that precede us, that actually birth us, they know what to pass on to us. That's why we're born into sin. We don't have to eat of the tree of knowledge anymore. You don't have to be punished for eating of it either. Like, that's like, you feel what I'm saying? But I ask people, like, did you really read the shit? Or did you comprehend the shit that you read? Or does it sound good to quote? I'm made in the image and likeness of a deity. Right. But when the deity made you, he said, let us make man in our image and likeness. It was more than one. Oh, so you really think you're monotheistic, huh? All right, nigga. Do your motherfucking thing, bro. I ain't mad at you. I got nothing but love for you. Shout out to Pac. But these are the things that I'm talking about. Religion. This is what religion does to you, yo. Our religions are our gods, not our gods. Like, I'm sorry, I can't fathom that you mean to tell me I'm supposed to like a God that can't talk to me no more? Like, he could talk to Adam. He could talk to Adam and Eve. You feel what I'm saying? He could talk through animals. You feel me? He could talk to David. He could talk to Solomon. You feel me? He could talk to Paul, Saul. He can, like, Jesus can literally come to Paul. He came to Saul directly and made him change his name to Paul and said, stop killing these motherfucking people in my name, nigga. The fuck wrong with you? Paul was like, yo, my bad, bro. I thought that's what you wanted me to do. No, bitch, I ain't tell you to kill motherfuckers in my name. Of course, it doesn't say it like that in the book. You feel me? But that's the gist of it. Saul shouldn't make it to heaven. Saul should not make that shit to heaven. That nigga was running around killing people in Jesus' name. Like, oh, you don't want to fuck with Jesus, nigga? Psh, you dead. Psh, you're dead. You're dead. And he looked around and said, who else wants some? You feel me? And then people try to make it look like, oh, he got a change of heart. And like, no, he had to kill nobody else because niggas got down. They didn't want to lay down no more. So he got his epiphany. Then he became Paul from Saul. He was like, Jesus came to him. He was like, I'm not supposed to. No, nigga. You tell them to believe if they gonna believe, and you leave them the fuck alone. You don't make them. The fuck is wrong with you? Where'd you get that from? Your words, my word ain't say. Literally, this is one of the impactful pieces of the book. He didn't really say it like this, but it almost came out like this. He was like, yo, I didn't say none of that shit. And that's Paul is telling him, yo, ain't this what your words say? No, that's not what I said do. It's crazy. Motherfuckers will not talk about that part. It's a lot of parts in the Bible that motherfuckers won't talk about because the religion justifies it. Like Ephesians 6:1. Children, honor your mother honor your mother and your father, for this is right in the Lord. It's like, wow. You know how many times I heard that in church growing up? You know, 2 verses under that, Ephesians like 6:3. I want to say it's Ephesians 6:3, maybe 2. But the whole Ephesians 6, I'm gonna tell you some verses in that motherfucker that's gonna fuck you up. So Ephesians 6:1, children, honor your parents, for this is right in the Lord. Like Ephesians 6:3 says, parents, do not stir your children up to anger. So while children are supposed to honor their parents, the parents aren't supposed to just stir them up to anger. I ain't met a religious parent yet that ain't never pissed their child off. You feel me? I've been told as a kid several times, I ain't got no nerves when motherfuckers that was adults got on my nerves. Said, you getting on my nerves. You ain't got no nerves. Oh, you stirring me up to anger. As a parent, you shouldn't be doing that. And it's not necessarily my mom or my biological parent, but it takes a village. And it was village and cultural when they was talking about it. Like, that's why children honor your parents, because it takes a village. You feel me? The parental figures, and parental figures don't stir your children up to anger. And a lot of motherfuckers stir children up to anger because they bitch made and they wouldn't do the shit to motherfuckers they age. They be getting punked by motherfuckers they age and shit. And they take it out on children. You use religion to justify it. But one of the other verses that I was going to talk about was that's also within that Ephesians was slaves, honor your masters if you would, Jesus Christ. Whew. It's convenient how only certain verses are practiced in certain places and only certain people know about certain verses. For every child who's heard children honor your parents is, because it's right in the Lord. They've never heard parents don't stir your children up to anger. You feel me? For every parent that has quoted that verse has never said it. For every slave that has heard that verse, you know what I'm saying, spoken by the slave master, kept them in check. Kept them in check for 531 years. Because it goes into they don't love God, they fear hell, and they fear hell based on what they know that the religion tells them will lead them to hell if they follow these certain tenets that the religion says stay away from. So I know I gotta follow the 10 commandments, right? But then you talk to the Hebrew Israelite, there's 631. Where? Show me all 631 rules that I'm supposed to follow. And show me that you following all 631 motherfucking rules. And don't tell me he ain't done with me yet. Fuck that. That shit pisses me off because that lets me know that the religion is your God, not the God. You don't even give a fuck about what the God say. Because the God say, oh, as long as I know the religion tells me that there's 631 rules that I gotta follow that I can't break, then I ain't gotta worry about that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as I know that I gotta break them, I can't break them, I don't need to not break them. Fuck God, I gotta follow the religion. Literally, that's what they say. You feel what I'm saying? Religious Muslims and Islamic people will throw a hadith at you right now and be violating the very hadith they just threw at you. Like, nigga, for real. For real. Like, nigga, come on. You may be pointing out that I violated hadith number 7. But bitch, you violated hadith 14, 15, and 12 yesterday. All in 5 minutes. The fuck is you talking about? But they can do that because your life is experienced based off your understanding of religion. So if you fear hell, right, you're going to follow and see, okay, what will prevent me from getting to hell? And that's what you'll stick to. You see what I'm saying? One of the scariest feelings ever when I started reading the Bible and shit was, because I I was what 17 when I started reading the Bible, like actually reading it to study, right? And over that next 7 years, I would dive in heavy, but like by no 18 to 25, because 25 was when I gave it. It was 18 when I started, because it was once I got back into college, and then the girl that I was with, she was always quoting the Bible and shit. That was some crazy shit. Like she was always quoting the Bible, always like, and she was a joke. She was a joke. I'm like, yo, come on, bro. How you commit adultery, nigga? The fuck? I remember her asking me too. She was like, "Did you give up religion because of me?" I was like, "No, the fuck, the shit ain't real." You feel me? She was like, "Oh, because I was gonna feel bad about myself." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I did all of this talking about that, and I did you like." I know that's contradictory, but you got whatever you got out of that. So it was what it was. But you feel me? As me studying it, one of the verses, it was the story of Onan, right? Because I always hear, you feel me? It's better to put your seed in the belly of a whore than to waste it. Why does the Bible say that? Like, it says it's better to put your seed in the belly of a whore than waste it. I said, whoa, hold up. Wait, no, that's not cool. But what I did read was it was in the story of Onan. Onan's brother died. He was killed. So Onan was, you feel me? And this is one of the most realist point. This is one of the most realist situations in the Bible that I ever read that was most realistic. That was like, yo, this is some human shit. He shouldn't have died for this. God was a cornball for killing him for this shit. This was fucked up, but I get it because it's the book and God could do that. So Onan was married. No, Onan's brother died in war or some shit. So Onan was supposed to. I don't know where this came from. When you're like, I don't know why this is a thing. Like, because I wouldn't do this shit now. Like, when your brother dies, you take on his family and his wife and shit. If you don't have one, fuck no. So you got to go fuck his wife and shit. That's no. I could not fuck my brother, baby mama. I could not fuck my brother, baby mama. Like, I don't know, like, not that she's not cute, not that she's not attractive or no shit like that, but that's my brother, baby mama. Like, they have a life, they have history together. They love each other. Like, they have 4 kids together. If my brother died right now, I'm supposed to go in and just start fucking his girl? No, that's stupid. But that's one of the side that was fucked up. But then again, Onan was still on that shit because he still fucked his brother girl. He just, when it was time to get her pregnant, he pulled out. And when he pulled out, he skeeted on the ground. Soon as his semen touched the seed, soon as his seed touched the dirt, God killed him. I said, wow, you killed the nigga because he ain't want to get his brother baby mama pregnant. Wow. But yet, you out here fucking other niggas' baby mamas. Not on any funny shit, but Mary was another nigga wife. And he was still alive. It ain't like Joseph died when you started fucking her. Well, you only fucked her once. Never mind. Let me not do that. You only fucked her once. And I know a lot of people are, if you're hearing this, it's cringeworthy because, like, oh, that's blasphemous. But is it a lie? Because that's really what's happening. A lot of times we try to mystify it and act like what we're reading ain't what we're reading. He fucked another man's wife and violated one of his own commandments that he told you not to do. Thou shalt not commit adultery, but I'm going to commit adultery so I can say the world. And then look, I'm going to create the nigga, right? I'm going to have him beat the shit out of this nigga, bro. They going to kill him, right? But a lot of people don't understand. When Jesus realized what God was at the last moment. Even Jesus asked that nigga, why you leave me, bro? Why you play me? I did this for you and you played me. Niggas don't want to address that part of the verse. When Jesus look up to the sky and say, Father, why have you forsaken me? Because people don't take the time to look into the context of the words that they're reading. Who the fuck says that shit in regular conversation? Father, why have you forsaken me? Bitch, why you leave me hanging? Motherfucker, why you leave me hanging? That's what it is to be forsaken. You left me hanging in the core. You feel me? They don't want to address that part. Like, that word is like, this is literally written. And Jesus look up to the sky and says, Father, why have you forsaken? Like, listen, he done got beat up. He done got flogged. They done fucked him up. And he's still like, yo, this is what I got to do. He's still trying to be strong. They got this nigga. He thought. So what we don't get, what we see in contextual side of we don't see Jesus' character's point of view. Because as we're reading it, we're trying to read it as a point not to understand all the dynamics from the allegorical perspective. We're just trying to read it from the mythology. So we don't see Jesus' character as a significant importance. I mean, of course, it is overall important, but we don't look at his character development, or we don't look at him, right, as what he actually feels out of what's happening, right? So in the beginning, as he's saying, he said, this is what's supposed to happen. I get it. Everybody said he prepared for what was going to happen. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what was going to happen. What Jesus didn't know was the extent of what was going to happen to him. From the context of the book, he knew he was going to get his ass whooped. He knew he was going to be betrayed by Judas. He knew he was going to die. He didn't know they was going to do that to him. When they made him carry the, like, he had the resilience up until that point. When they actually hung him up on the cross, that's when it hit him like, nigga, when are you going to kill me? Father, why have you forsaken me? Once he said that part, that's when his soul finally left his body. He finally died. He finally gave up the ghost. That's what they call it. He said, damn, nigga, to my dying whimper, you never stepped in. I had to step out of my body because you wouldn't step in to help me. People don't pay attention to that shit. All they talk about is how after that they went to the grave and he moved the shit. He moved the rock. That was foul. I don't care. Like if I told my son, yo, he asked, yo, Father, why have you forsaken me? And he didn't respond back. God spoke to everybody directly. He didn't even speak to his own son, the direct nigga, the direct bloodline. He said, Father, why have you forsaken me? He ain't say I didn't. He ain't say, nah, it was supposed to go like this. I'm like, nah, this was supposed to happen. He didn't even fill him in on the details of what the fuck was going to happen to him. He just knew Judas was going to betray him. He knew he was going to die. He ain't know nothing in between. That's why when he asked, Father, why have you forsaken me? Now I get it. You're going to ask me, well, when he was talking to the other criminals, they was like, do you know who you are? He was like, yeah. It was in a point where he was still at that resilient level. But you got to think about it. You carry a cross up a mountain, not a real mountain, but like a steep ass hill. You carry your cross up a hill. You feel me? Now, when you get there, you're getting flogged, you're getting beaten shit. You feel me? At some point, your fucking willpower dies. Jesus had a lot of willpower. He was able to keep himself, sane up until that point. But it broke. When he's telling people, he said, yeah, bro, y'all can, he said, wherever y'all gonna go, y'all can be there with me. You feel me? He's like, I got your spot. But then to get to a point, he's still hanging on this motherfucker. He asked, yo, Father, why have you forsaken me? Like, why am I still here? Come the fuck on. It's kind of reminiscent of what we're going through right now. Last days of the last days. You feel me? But that's what we tied to. We tied to the religion. We're not even tied to the religion. We tied to the quote unquote experiences of the religion's book that we've never seen. Excuse me. Ain't nobody see Jesus turn water into wine, but we speak matter of factly as if we do. And we tied to religion like, yo, my mans can turn water into wine. How you know? Because he's Jesus. Not because I've seen him do it, but because he's Jesus and it's in the Bible. It's in the religion. The religion says Jesus could turn water to wine. Jesus says he multiplied fish and shit like that. It's like, wow. Why can't nobody do it now? Because they ain't Jesus. No, it's not because they ain't Jesus. It's because Jesus wasn't a real character. Jesus was a part of a mythology. Just like the entire doctrine. Jesus is a part of mythology. Muhammad is a part of mythology. You feel me? They weren't meant to. When Muhammad, they said, okay, so Muhammad he was illiterate. That's what made Muhammad, the Islam, so interesting, right? Because if the words come from Prophet Muhammad, where the fuck why does Ishmael matter? You see what I'm saying? Why does Ishmael matter if the words came from Prophet Muhammad, right? It's intricacy that you actually have to study about your religion to know what it is that you're bound to. You're bound to the fact that you can't truly understand it too. You see what I'm saying? Like, imagine that. Everybody I know who studies religion says, oh, there's more to learn. It shouldn't be. Any book you read, all of the information in that book is in that book. If every time you're reading, you get new information out of that book, either you're not understanding what you're reading the first time, or it's layered purposely for that very reason. Because why? It is written by motherfucking poets. As somebody who is a motherfucking poet, I literally, and not only just a poet, well, I'm a poet, but I can take realities, I can create whole new realities off of fantasies and bring them together. And you'll never know the difference. You know why? Because when you merge fantasy and reality, you can destroy time. You feel me? And then when you can put a fantasy in it that's similar to reality, nobody can tell that what you're saying isn't real. Rappers do it all the time. Rappers do it all the fucking time. I got this money, this yacht, this boat, this, that, a whole fantasy that's realistic because they rich and they can probably rent it, but it's cap because they don't got it. They just rapping about it. But you don't know the difference. You feel me? Bow Wow just got he got an interview on My Expert Opinion with Matt Hoffa, right? So on My Expert Opinion, they talk about the Bow Wow challenge. And he like, look, bro, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. He said, all rappers be lying, we be capping. He said straight up. He said, I just happen to be the one to get caught. It was a time when he posted that flight and then he was on a regular basic flight. And it was like, damn, bro, you got exposed. But that's the thing. Had he have not been seen on the flight that he was on, nobody would have said shit because the fantasy and the reality made sense. You dig what I mean? The fantasy and reality made sense. As a writer, as a poet, as a motherfucker who can capture shit, well, you can't tell the difference. But like when I do metaphors, like people be like, wow, how did you? Because I know how to merge fantasy and reality artistically to where you can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. You feel me? You gotta learn how to decipher that because that's how these books are written. They're written in such a way that they're allegorical, so you're not gonna understand them from one way. You're gonna like it's the Bible. I say the entire Bible as a whole is an entendre, probably a quadruple entendre if you really peel back. Yeah, you peel back the layers, you'll get about a triple or a quadruple entendre out of the whole context of the book. The entire book is an entendre to where you go from Jesus being I'm gonna use this as an example. It's an entendre in the sense that it can go from Jesus walking on water to the sun walking on water at sunset as the sun sets and it starts to move and skate above water. Metaphorical. Between Jesus walking on water. With the multiplying of the bread and the wine, again, metaphorical as if Jesus was the sun. It didn't multiply for the people, but the fish multiplied as opposed to the sun resonating off of the water, and the bread multiplied as opposed to the grain. So it was a lot of a coded layer to that shit that wasn't really what it was supposed to be. Because you notice they never said how much time it took. We assume it was 5-10 minutes when it was multiplying. There was never a time frame. You just know the people came by the lake. We don't know how long they stayed, and we don't know how long Jesus was there. Because you got to think about it. Jesus' entire story runs between Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but it chronicles 3 years, from 30 to 33. The way it looks is like all of Jesus' miracles happened in 10 minutes. It just happened in 10 motherfucking minutes. And then they only tell you about certain ones. So within those 3 years when he was performing miracles, all of that shit was, again, layered shit. But then what about the 18 years when nobody knew what he was doing? Because that's not in the book, religious people won't know the answer to that. I asked a religious person one time that question. I said, yo, what was Jesus doing from age 12 to 18, 12 to 30? That's a good question. You should look up the answer. No, nigga, you should have already had the answer for me. But the fact that you didn't even think to answer, like you've read, like you motherfucker, I've been reading this book all my life. You read it all your life. And every time you came to the story of Jesus, not once, not a single time did you question where the fuck this motherfucker was at for 18 years. And how nobody knew where the fuck he was at. There's no historical document of where Jesus was between the age of 12 and 30. Even the Bible doesn't tell you what he was doing between 12 and 30. Well, how do you know it was 12? Well, you just got to look at what the information says. He was preaching in the temples at 12. Next thing you know, you see him, he's turning tables and flipping whips when he's 30, getting baptized by John the Baptist. And then he dies at 33. So what was he doing for 18 years? 18 years. It's different. It's different, yo. It's different. And a lot of people don't want to take the time to actually understand their religion. You know why? Because it's going to take them above the it's going to take them above the mythology. And when you get to allegory, you start to see the metaphors and start to see, oh man, this wasn't real. But it took real events and merged with fantastic events and gave it to me. So I fantastically view real shit. And then I realistically view fantastic shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit's crazy to know that some people believe a lot of the shit that, and I get why they believe it, because it's like we don't elevate and we don't teach the religion according to a point that's supposed to elevate you. We teach the religion solely according to staying here, staying tied to this religion. So now the religion is your motherfucking God.
And don't forget to check out Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all of the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Cafe Clothing.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I need to give him some more rest and shit. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. But yeah, that's religion. Like, religion ain't what people think it is. There's 3 levels to it: mythology, ritual, and allegory. But religion is designed to tie you to something. So religion doesn't have to be a book, but it's something that ties you to something else. You feel me? We're tied to the idea. You feel me? We're tied to the idea of a God. But our religion, our identity is built off of people who don't want to go to hell, not people who actually love their deity. Because you follow the tenets so that when you walk a life that you don't, you know what I'm saying, but you don't do shit that Jesus would do. You ain't go help the homeless. Jesus said in the Bible, he said, what you've done to me, what you have done to the child and the homeless, you have done to me. Y'all niggas don't believe in that shit, bro. Would you beat the fuck out of Jesus? No. Would you stomp Jesus the fuck out? Nah, you wouldn't. You feel me? Would you slap Jesus? Would you take your belt off and beat the shit out of Jesus? No, you wouldn't. If Jesus asked you for some money, would you say, nah, I ain't got it right now? Or would you tell him to get a job? Or would you make some kind of smart? No, you wouldn't. But you do it to homeless people and children all the fucking time. So again, when Jesus says, what you've done to the child and the homeless man, you have done to me. Y'all ain't getting into heaven. Y'all niggas just, but again, y'all are justifying your bullshit. You're justifying your bullshit. But it's cool. I used to justify my bullshit too. And then I just stopped being on some bullshit. I know it was so much easier, right? You feel me? Because I could always say, yo, he ain't done with me yet. Because it's like the shit that I wanted to do, that was some fucked up shit. It'd be like, oh, if I do it, then they're gonna look at me like this. It's gonna be wrong. It's gonna be wrong. I do it anyway. I'm like, well, he ain't done with me. Now I don't have to feel that way. I don't feel guilty for doing what I want to do. Because I understand why I do it. You feel me? And because of that, I no longer have temptations. Temptations only derive from what you don't understand. That which you are ignorant about can tempt you. And I don't think a lot of people get that. And that's why a lot of people are in positions where they're viewing life the way they're viewing it, because they're not treating temptation the right way. They think temptation is the devil. It is the devil in a way, but they think, oh, the temptation is the devil. It's the devil. No, it's your ignorance. So again, this goes back to what I was saying about the tree of knowledge. Why doesn't a deity want you to eat of the tree of knowledge? So that way you can be tempted. And then if you don't eat of the tree of knowledge, you can't be tempted, right? After Eve and Adam ate it, yeah, they got punished or whatever, but they were never tempted again. You know why? Because they had understanding. They knew. You can't be tempted by shit that you know about. Only by shit that you don't. That's why sex is so easy to get. And that's why women are so easy to seduce men. Because we're all wired and programmed to, want sex at any time. And so when a woman decides she wants some dick, she can go out and get it. We can't get pussy that fast. Some of us can't. But no, we can't get pussy that fast. That was a very arrogant thing to think about, but I had to think about it. Like, yo, I still would have had to put in the work to, you feel me? I ain't never really get curved like that, but I still had to put in work. You feel me? Women can literally go out right now and say, I want some dick, and just go to a club and ask a nigga if you want to fuck. He gonna fuck. My first girlfriend in undergrad, yeah, that's how we got together. She looked me in my eyes and said, I feel like it's still niggas that owe me sex. Because we was in the club and motherfucker, we was listening to Put On by Jeezy and Kanye. And when Kanye verse came on, he like, I feel like it still hoes that no bitches that still owe me sex. She looked at me, and when that part came on, like, I feel like it's still niggas that owe me sex. And I was like, I should have just fucked her. You feel me? But I didn't. But again, I could have fucked her right then because she had like I would have, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the power. You feel me? And the temptation because we lock into not understanding women as a whole. So it's easier for a woman to, you want some pussy? Yep. Cause we don't like once we understand sex and we understand like you can't just offer pussy to me no more, bro. I can't just fuck anybody. Me being celibate now at this point, it's not even resisting. It's like, nah, everybody can't get this dick, yo. It's different. Once you reach a point of understanding certain shit, like, and religion ain't never teach you that. Religion just told you to be afraid of sex. Don't have sex until you're married. It's like, what? But then they don't tell you that having sex is what marries you. Because again, it's levels to this shit. It's written purposely to confuse you. How can you not have premarital sex if sex is what makes you married? So you can't have sex before you have sex. So, but sex is so like the only thing that I could think of that it is oral sex. Premarital sex would have to be oral sex. You feel me? You shouldn't be making a motherfucker come without sex. Only with whatever. You feel me? That shit don't make no sense. But what are the rules for sex in the context? Like, yo, if this is the only book that I have to read, how come I don't know how to have sex in this motherfucker? How come I don't know what the like? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things that are missing out of that because it was never meant to be an instructional guide. It was meant to be a mythological reading for you to understand allegory, so you can understand a deeper aspect of yourself. You're Jesus Christ too. Christ consciousness is a point of ascension within the self. It's not hard to reach, and it doesn't make you some mystical being. I walk in Christ consciousness all the fucking time. You feel me? It is not like, you feel me, it's supposed to make you some sage, some mystical motherfucker. Like, you just free. You just free. Jesus just happened to be one of the motherfuckers that when we hear his story and shit, you feel me? He was such a peaceful person. That nigga won't fucking peaceful. Because again, we don't know what he was doing for 18 years. You feel me? But we do have some of his missing shit where he walked. I think he was like, he had to be about 13 or 14 maybe. And he was walking past a tree. No, he wasn't. He was grown. He had to be in his 30s. He was walking past a tree and it didn't have any life. It wasn't growing. He said, all right, die. And just killed the tree. Didn't give it another chance to come back in the next season and say, oh, you ain't producing no fruit? Die, nigga. And just touched it and killed it. Niggas don't talk about that part. They don't talk about the gangster shit he was doing. The balance that he had throughout the whole book. They took that part out. Because they only want you to see that your Christ consciousness is supposed to be holier than thou and be like, no. Because just like Jesus didn't fight back when they was flogging him, he flipped tables over when they seen them gambling in church. It's different. He beat the motherfuckers with whips, yo. Like, so it's like if you actually walk into the Christ consciousness, you have to ask yourself, am I really going to be balanced? Am I going to be my full self, which is a dual nature? Chances are not. You feel me? Because the religion doesn't tell you that. Religion tells you you were born a sinner. You were born a fuck up. You were born a fuck up. And until you find Jesus and you get like, you're fucked up the whole time. So I can get why when people, get saved and feel like they get arrogant. You feel me? It ain't no different than when we went from like 5-6 years ago when we went from calling black women bitches, hoes, and tricks and shit to calling the black woman God. Complete start track. You feel me? You know how many, like, I know how much pussy I could have gotten that time if I would have been exploitive like I could have been. I didn't, but I could have. You feel me? The black woman there was so much pussy thrown at me just because I was on that wave initially. But then I started looking. I said, nah, we can't. I said, that's not good for y'all. Y'all literally went from being called a scum of the earth to being called God. That's not you. It happened too fast. That level of arrogance, it came to you. So when it was like, when I would meet those women who would be like, you know what I mean? I had to scale back, like, yo, I don't know you like that. You feel me? I don't know you like that. It sounds arrogant when I say it, but it's not. When I tell women, you got to make me like you back. They're not used to men saying that because again, we're wired to when she throws it, you catch it. Nah, is that pussy worth catching, bro? That's not a good play. Fuck you mean? You feel me? I had to learn that shit. But in the time, it's like in those moments, it's like, yo, you gotta like me back. I had a woman cuss me out and block me because I told her that. She's like, well, I ain't got your number yet. I don't feel like you should have my number. What you mean? But I've been talking. I know. I still don't like you back yet. Well, I fuck with you. I know you've been following me for a minute on social media. You've been catching my posts. You've been catching my jokes. Like you've been engaging in everything. I don't know who the fuck you are. You don't know who the fuck I am either, but I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't even follow you. Like that'd be sometimes that'd be fucking with their head too. Like, I don't even follow you back. So I don't know who the fuck you are. You're having this conversation with me and your page is private. And you flirting? You think I'm supposed to catch hints? I don't fucking know you. You could be any fucking body right now. I don't entertain that shit. I don't entertain that shit. You feel what I'm saying? Because you got to make me like you back. But again, like I said, I'm tying that into the ego side, bringing that back in to how once you get saved and baptized with it, you get a level of arrogance of yourself. You think you perfect. You think you the shit. Like you feel me? You think you are the God. Like you're better than everybody. Oh, I'm baptized. You been baptized? No. Oh, shut the fuck up. You better go get baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost, whatever the case may be. You start to feel this arrogance about yourself to where you still do the same shit, but now you're absolved because you're in it. He ain't through with me yet. Oh, you gonna be punished because you don't fuck with the religion at all. I'm not punished. Like I was watching battle rap. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna really wrap it up. I was watching battle rap, and Shorty literally said, she said, what you know about stabbing a motherfucker and God stabbing your enemy and God doing something to not make your enemy testify against you. No, what you know about stabbing your enemy and God making you? I said, I don't think that was God, homie. Especially not the God you serve. Motherfuckers like Christian. They like she calls herself a Christian battle rapper. I said, wait, so you killed him or you stabbed a motherfucker and God got the charges dropped? I don't like. How did you get to the point where you stabbing a motherfucker? God didn't kick in anywhere up until you stabbing him. Now, granted, it's battle rap. So did she stab a motherfucker? I don't know. But the point I'm making is like up until you actually penetrating human flesh with a knife. After the commandment says thou shalt not kill, your intention was to kill this motherfucker when you stabbed him. And God protected you? You see, like people use it to justify their bullshit. People use it to justify their bullshit. Because you got to think about it. Sometimes it wasn't even God. It was just the circumstances of the reality. Because there's a situation in the Bible where a guy murdered a man for raping his sister. He didn't go to jail. Nothing happened. They was like, why did you murder? He said, he raped my sister. Nothing to talk about. Well, you're right. It's nothing to talk about. It's nothing at all to talk about. And then they teach you shit like vengeance is mine, said the Lord. Like, no, vengeance is mine, said it, me. I'm not going to put my vengeance in another being's hand because, now I got to wait for it. Now I got to wait for it. I'm going to show you that you fucked with me, so I'm personally going to fuck with you. If we want our gods to fight each other, let's let our gods fight each other. We're humans. I'm not going to let my God fight you. And then just while I'm sitting there waiting on you to, no, fuck that. You feel me? We going to handle our issue, and if we got to send it up to our gods and let them fight, let them do it. But you feel me? I'm not going to try to send a god to go fight a human when I could fight a human. That's stupid. But that ties into the entire purpose of religion and what it is to black people. This is why black people view Caucasian people and Arab people in such a higher regard than we're supposed to. They can disrespect us to our face and we don't give a fuck because they gave us the religions that we follow. And we don't know how subtle it is of how we react to this shit, but we follow that. And those are the religions that we're bound to, so we can only fit within the lexicon of what world they create. Your world and your reality is predicated upon your religion. Your religion is what you're bound to, right? And whatever your spiritual practice is, whatever your deity is, the highest conceptualization of your mind, whatever that is, that pretty much dictates your reality. Black people are the only people who don't have a religious context. We follow everybody else's. We got Christians. We got Christianity from the Europeans. I get it. Oh, we wrote it when you. All right, well, I don't care. I don't care how many people talk about what we wrote or whatever the case may be. It was introduced to us when we were enslaved. You feel me? I get it. Oh, well, what about the Coptic Christians in Egypt? Okay, the Coptic Christians in Egypt understood the allegory. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. They understood the allegory. They didn't take the shit for real. You feel what I'm saying? Spanish conquistadors and shit. They brought a form of Christianity as well. Um, the English, the European people, they brought the Christianity. So when we look at the Spanish, the French, and the English, this is how we ended up even on the West Coast. I mean, what the Western area, the Western Hemisphere. This is why we ended up where we are, where most of us, speak English, Spanish, or French. We practice Christianity in some way. It ain't no mystery for that shit. Like, you feel me? Because your religion is tied to your oppression. I got to make sure your mind does not go as high as I need it to go. But when I give you a deity, I know how high your mind can go. Because the only place God exists is in the Bible. The only place Allah exists is in the Quran. Krishna only exists in Hinduism. Buddha only exists in Buddhism. What do Black people have? Some of us are coming back. We tapping into the Ifa. We tapping back in to the Yoruba. We tapping back into the Vodun. We tapping back in to the Kemetic side. We tapping back into what deities and shit look like us and get back. So we're changing the highest conceptualizations of our mind. But the highest conceptualization of our minds currently are Caucasian and Arab and Asian. Nothing is Black. So you're always going to see those things as superior to yourself because they gave you the religion you follow. It is not until you accept a religion that looks like you or you honor a religion that looks like you that you'll be out of that shit, because the God is the highest conceptualization of your mind. And your religion tells you who and what your God is. And if your God don't look like you, but your God constantly tells you ain't shit, guess what the fuck you gonna be? I've never met a heavily religious Black person who didn't have a inferiority complex. By proxy, I've never met a religious person of other ethnicities into their respective religions who didn't have a superiority complex. Such superiority complex that they took it upon themselves to go and kill and slaughter people in the name of their deity. And their deity said that was fine. And for our people, why didn't our gods show up? Because gods are not real beings. They're forces of nature that we have to access. You don't pray to God to come down and save you. You tap into the God in you that can save itself. Because I got an episode on this anyway, too, called Prayer, the Commandment of the Elements. You don't ask for shit. You tell it what to do. And you compensate it. And it goes and does what it's supposed to do. We lost so much of our reality. I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap it up for real. When I studied the story of Vodun and how Napoleon's army went from like 33,000 to 3,000 and the Haitian people had no weapons, there was like, from the historical context of some of the people, what they saw, they said bodies were rising from the ground. That's where the conceptualization of zombies came from. But to go deeper into it, they weren't physical bodies that was coming from the ground. They were emanations. So whatever they were doing, they were manipulating the earth to appear as a human body to run into these people. Now, again, I've had motherfuckers say, see, you believe that for real? You believe Jesus walked on water? You believe Muhammad gave an entire doctrine off the dome, but couldn't read or write to proof check it? But you say, I can't believe that our people manipulated nature to the point where they were able to erect a physical being to attack an army. An army so much so that when the army fell, people said, people are afraid of Haiti. Why? It's demonic. I would call some shit demonic too if I knew that I served the opposite God from it. God of your enemy is your devil. So what your enemy calls demonic in you is actually very godly. But by proxy, what your enemy sees in you that is godly is actually demonic. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies, make sure they eat their vegetables. And our kids, I can't tell y'all what the fuck to do with your babies, but if you're gonna have them in a religion, make sure they know the motherfucker. I don't mean go to Bible study just to motherfucking sit with the pastor and just keep regurgitating and keep reaffirming the belief. No, sit with that motherfucker. Go through the allegory. Go through the mythology, the ritual, the allegory. Study the antithesis. Gain this information for real. Actually go and study the chronicles and start putting pieces together so you can answer these questions for real and not just believe in this shit. Our babies are suffering because of that, because the highest conceptualization of their mind, they don't understand. That's weird. We don't understand it, and we give them the high. Like, think about how this goes. It started off, the highest conceptualization of the mind was given, right? Now we have taken on the highest conceptualization of the mind. In taking on the highest conceptualization of mind, we still don't understand it, but we're giving the highest conceptualization of the mind, passing it down through generations with limited understanding as it goes deeper and deeper. In layman's terms, niggas is understanding less and less of the Bible, but passing it on more and more. Niggas is understanding less and less of the Quran and passing it on more and more. What you think the mind is going to be? Because your mind cannot extend beyond your deity. And your deity is tied to your religion, and your religion is tied to your oppression. Stop that with our babies. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there because, like I said, I need some rest. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.